Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. I'm back here at Jaguar Land Rover St. Petersburg, and we have something rare and special for you today. This is a 2021 Lotus Evora GT. But before we get into this lightweight mid-engine sports car, let's talk about what's going on here. Colin Chapman, he is the founder of Lotus Cars, and it goes all the way back to the 1940s, but to be honest with you, technically it was 1948 when the whole idea of Lotus Cars started, because that's when Colin Chapman himself, who was a race car driver, was engineering a very light car for him to race in. He's never been about high horsepower. It's about creating a very, very light platform, but one that's very connected to the driver. And for years, Lotus made some amazing vehicles. One of my favorite growing up is the Lotus Esprit, the Lotus Esprit Turbo, and of course, the Lotus Esprit V8 Twin Turbo. Fast forward to the modern era, it was this Evora that really made it possible for Lotus to make an everyday high-performance sports car. Yes, there's the Lotus Elise, the Lotus Exige. Those are really about the bare minimum needed to have some type of performance car. They didn't even come with any type of interior appointments like carpet. This kind of brought it up to another level, still keeping it fairly light, but bringing more modern amenities, but yet that's still great driving experience. Lotus, they've actually been a multi-Formula One Grand Prix world champion team. They've also won in Indianapolis in the Indy 500 with Jimmy Clark, plus had a lot of other platforms like sports car racing where they did a lot to really make a mark against all the other brands. But what would be the main competitor to this? You could say a C8 Stingray, but really where it lies is the Porsche Cayman GT4. So let's find out. Should you go Lotus? Should you go Porsche for your mid-engine manual transmission experience? Let's go ahead. Let's dive into our pewter gray Evora GT and find out. Right off the bat, the proportions. The car is actually quite small, not as small as a Lotus Elise, and a little bit larger than a Cayman GT4, but still definitely smaller than a C8 Stingray. Now at the front of the business, you see that nice low slung nose. You could see how they sculpted the headlight housing, your projector beam LED headlights. You got your turn signals and daytime running lamps, which are down here, are your daytime running lamps, all LED, functional corner venting for the heat exchangers, and you'll see how they sculpted the arrow right into the front fascia, the pewter gray with some of the gloss black. Now, as we come across that low slung nose, you got the Lotus badge, all about Colin Chapman, and then you're gonna have this massive lower area to bring lots of cool air for the heat exchangers. And I like the way that they work the lower lip splitter. Nice and thick, trying to stop air from going underneath the vehicle because that creates lift. Now, when you compare this to the front of a GT4, it's a little bit tidier. And what I mean by that, it's not so wide. So something to think about. And also what I like about the GT4, instead of plastic on the grills, they use wire mesh. Now, as we rise up, what do we got going on? You have functional heat extractors and aerodynamic pieces on the hood, a little bit of gloss black, a little bit of the yellow trim, and that runs up onto the roof. I like the way it kind of blends in nicely with the yellow on the mirror caps. You see our aero that's been brought in? This is actually to relieve pressure that builds up underneath the wheel well so we don't create lift. This is stuff learned on racetracks around the world for years. And as we come around the bend, what are we working with? Wheel and tire setup. So what you're gonna have are these forged aluminum wheels. Nice, big, fat V-spoke design. We have AP Racing 4-piston calipers up front, the bright yellow, 2-piece rotors that are cross-drilled and obviously going to help with that rotating mass and dissipating the heat. When you look at tire size, these are 19-inch wheels up front. Tires on the front end are 245 on the width and a 35 series sidewall, and I'm very happy to say that these have Cup 2 tires from Michelin, which are a nice high performance tire. Suspension has been fine-tuned for this mid-engine platform, and I'm gonna have Steven kind of swing around and show you how they carve out the aero to let the air come down the side of the vehicle. Evora GT on the badging on the side. You do have power folding mirrors. And then of course you have that two-tone with the whole A-pillar and going into the engine cover all in painted black with some yellow striping. Door handles are pretty much flush. And I love the way the door kind of bows out, the actual bodywork bows out. That's gonna help feed cool air for our supercharged V6. If you're wondering what is this for, this is to help protect against rock chips. Usually you see those on Porsche 911 turbos. And then out back, what you're looking at is going to be a 20-inch wheel. So we actually have a little bit wider, 295 on the tire, 30 series sidewall. You can see our two-piece rotors and those AP Racing calipers. A lot of people don't know AP Racing, but they've been obviously in the industry for many years, and it's nice to see something other than Brembo. Everybody and their mother's got Brembos. As we come around the back, I'm gonna have Steven start up top because you can see all of the venting, our Lotus engine cover there with our supercharged V6, all that sculpting, and look at the way they work the rear spoiler into the actual engine hatch. I love how simplicity plays a big role. We have some exposed carbon fiber because you got carbon fiber body panels on this thing. Look at the aero, the carbon fiber in there. Working our way across the back, that famous name, Lotus Evora GT. And then boy, oh boy, this race diffuser looks like it came right off a Le Mans prototype racer. Our single outlet exhaust in the center. And if you're really comparing this to the Cayman GT4, even though that's got an aggressive body as well, there's just something about this Lotus that takes it up another level where people are gonna probably look and have their neck snap by this very easily because they're not gonna know what the hell it is. But why don't we go ahead, let's pop that engine hatch and talk horsepower of this British sports car. All right, guys, got the engine hatch open. Obviously, you can see you have some cargo room here. That's about 8 cubic feet of space. And then there she is, that nice powder-coated bright red that's always been a signature look of Lotus engines, especially the more modern ones. You can see our supercharger pulley. I'm actually gonna move so Steven can show you the supercharger pulley, because what do we have? It's a 3.5 liter V6 made it to that supercharger. That engine is from a Toyota Camry. And that's always been the thing. You know, with British cars, there's always that reliability thing that people joke about, but some people have really experienced the reliability issues. This though, you have Japanese Toyota Camry V6 power. So 416 horsepower, 317 pound-feet of torque. Ours is mated to a 6-speed manual transmission. You can get an automatic as well. With the manual, 0 to 60 in about 3.9 seconds, quarter mile, 12.3 seconds at 112 miles per hour, top speed right at 188 miles per hour. She weighs 3,112 pounds, MPG 17 in the city, 26 on the highway. And that's the thing with this car, is that when you compare it to the GT4, very similar. But remember, this GT4 uses a 4-liter flat 6 that puts out a little bit more than 400 horsepower and redlines around 8,700 RPM. But why don't we go ahead, let's fire up this supercharged Lotus Evora GT and hear what it sounds like. All right, guys, we are inside this pewter gray 2021 Lotus Evora GT. I know you're saying to yourself, well, Joe, I want a sports car that is unique, that I can be one with. And all these cars have DCTs and automatics and all this other crap. I like the way that this one has a 6-speed manual, just like the Cayman GT4. But I kind of want something different than the Cayman GT4. How much is this? Asking price is right under $85,000. Let's see how it stacks up to the mighty Porsche Cayman GT4. To the door panels. Love the leather, the Alcantara, the yellow contrast stitching. Matches nicely with all the yellow appointments. Even on the door handle there, the yellow, very nicely done. In the door pocket, you could put maybe 2 or 3 British scones, depending on the size of them. And then going from the door panel to the dash, you got the perforated leather. Look at that, hand built in England with the person's name, Alcantara, and then slide on in. This is where things feel a little on the cheap kind of side. The AC vents feel like they're out of a Dodge Neon. I do like the Alcantara, but the buttons, very, very basic. You got sport mode, you got race mode. You do have heated seats, and you could open up the sound of the exhaust. A 6-inch infotainment system. It is color, but as you can see, it's very dated. But the good news is you do have a backup camera. Not the clearest of resolution, but at least you got some trajectory lines and a backup camera to utilize. Down below, the leather, the Alcantara, it feels like a race car. And these controls feel like they were just put here to make it street legal. So you have your full AC controls, easy to figure out. Then we have that manual transmission. Look at this. Nice, short, crisp engagement. The throws are so short. Love the mechanical feel. It's got a aluminum shift knob with the gear pattern. Very slim. Look at how slim this center console is. No cup holder, no place to put your Twinkies. You do have a mechanical e-brake with the leather and the stitching, and then the seats. The freaking one-piece race back with the Lotus embroidery, the GT name, nice bolstering, manual adjustments for the passenger, manual adjustments for the driver. There are rear seats on this example, but they're so small, you either have to be a glowworm, a Teddy Ruxpin, or my buddy to sit back there. So just get the one without the rear seats. You're gonna cut the weight very easily. But why don't you come over here to the business side of things. I wanna show you behind this very basic race car style steering wheel in this Lotus. All right, guys, we're behind the wheel, the business end of this Lotus Evora GT. Love the carbon fiber sill plate with the Lotus badge. The pedal box, right out of a race car. All aluminum pedals, and heel-toe downshifting is gonna be a snap. I even like the way they put the aluminum panel on the right-hand side, so when you're going on and off throttle, you don't rip up the carpet. Little tiny dead pedal, but that's to be expected because there's not much room in there. Seats though, they actually feel really good. They don't squeeze you like a vice grip. The way that they kind of bow the hood, the roof, it's like a Cayman GT4 where you could have your helmet on, no problem, and then the steering wheel. You do have some buttons, but they're way inwards, so you'll be able to work the magic on the wheel. Flat bottom, leather Alcantara, that Lotus badge. It is a manual adjusting wheel, of course. There's your engine start button. And then the dash, very, very basic. Analog speedometer, tach, and then those digital readouts on both sides. And there's a digital speedometer all the way in there. Very interesting that they did that. But like I said, there's rear seats. I'm not getting back there, and I don't think any other human being would want to try to even squeeze back there. But what I want to do is, I want to take you on throttle. So let's hit that button. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go on throttle in this Evora GT. All right, guys, we're inside this 2021 Lotus Evora GT. First time driving one. I wanted to put the windows down because it just sounds so freaking amazing. That supercharged V6. If you're ready, I'm ready. On throttle, here we go. Golly. It's crazy that a Toyota V6 from a Camry sounds as good as this one does. The steering is so precise, so precise. I would say even more precise than a Cayman GT4. Where this falls a little short is that the gearbox is a little clunky. It feels good when you're going up the gears, down the gears, not so much. But let's go ahead and go on throttle again. On throttle, here we go. On those brakes. Look at that, nice. The brakes feel phenomenal. I can modulate the pedal super well. And of course, being a mid-engine sports car, it's so well balanced. The seats are comfortable. They hold you nicely. They got the nice carbon fiber backs to them. It just, when you get into a GT4, you notice the fit and finish. There's definitely a big difference in fit and finish between this and a GT4. But the sound is eargasmic. It's like you definitely want to have a towel with you because you are going to have some eargasms in this thing. And it still sounds good with the windows up. It just sounds that much better with the windows down. The clutch pedal is very stiff and it's very heavy under your foot. That takes a little getting used to, especially compared to the Cayman GT4. There's no automatic rev match downshift, so you have to do all your own heel toe downshifts. But let's go on throttle. On throttle. Second gear feels great. Wow, look at this. It's like a go-kart. Once you get used to the pedals, it all starts to click and come together. I promise you that. Really though, the tactile feel you get in this car is second to none. It is a much more tactile feel to it than the GT4. I still think the GT4 is going to outperform it. I mean, that's just based off of my experiences in GT4s, and I'm not even talking about the GT4 RS. I'm just talking about the regular GT4. Standard GT4, it's going to outperform this car. But with that being said, if you want something that's more unique, if you want something that, you know, Lotus has such a strong history to the brand, and it's nice that you could be part of that with this vehicle, and you could daily drive it. I mean, you got very comfortable interior, it's weatherproof, so I mean, it's possible to enjoy this car any time of the year. Another thing that's really wicked is looking in the back window behind me. You can actually see the kick-up of the rear spoiler, but you can see the engine and actually see the throttle moving every time I go on throttle. It's really, really cool to see. Just gives it that nice mechanical overall experience. Nice downshifts. I think, like I said, as I'm getting more and more comfortable in the car, it's all clicking for me. On throttle. roller coaster ride. Nice. Really just a wonderful car to experience. And it's nice to have choices. It's nice to see a car that doesn't just come with a dual clutch transmission or an automatic, a standard traditional torque converter automatic. The fact that you get to have a 6-speed manual in here is just a nice choice. Rear wheel drive. I'm gonna hear this sound of this engine in my dreams. With the windows down, you hear a little bit of the supercharger, which is cool. But boy, oh boy, what an amazing experience. But just like anything else, we gotta get back and wrap this one up. So I will see you in a nanosecond. All right, guys, been another crazy, wild, slick shift, 6-speed manual transmission kind of days here at Rady's Rides at Jaguar Land Rover St. Pete. Gotta thank Miro and the rest of the crew hooking me up with this Evora GT, my first ever Lotus car that I've ever driven, and I definitely want to drive more, especially the new Lotus Evora. But let me know what you think. Are you going Evora GT? Are you going Cayman GT4? Let me know your thoughts down in that comment section. But if you're new to the channel, you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Rady's Rides family. Gotta get it up, Stephen Flood. He's loving the new cars that we're doing. He's loving the pure driving enjoyment that you get from these types of cars. So show him some love in the comment section. Thank you, Stephen, for all that you're doing. Just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.